The second episode of Under the Radar. And you know me, it's your boy JDiesel. And I've got with me today RetroStation. Come on and introduce yourself, my man.
Hey guys, I'm RetroStation. I am a New York player and also a bit of a logistics nerd for Kick Punch Block, but more on that later.
All
Let's get to
right.
the good stuff, man.
Yeah, and all right, so I'm sure you all know the most contentious, the most hot issue in the Dragon Ball community right now, the most recent patch. Now, Retro, I'm sure you've been on Twitter, and there's no way, unless you've been living under a rock, you know there's been some serious beef over this patch.
Yeah, it's been a super polarizing patch. Some people love it, some people hate it, and there's just a bunch of people beefing over it for many reasons. But let's talk about what the changes are for people who aren't familiar with the Season 2 patch.
All right, so I think the first thing that we probably want to talk about is the blue life change.
Yeah, so for the blue life change, in regards to blue life, you don't get as much blue life after a combo, and if someone starts off with an EX move, that EX move gives you 0 blue life whatsoever, and the resulting combo, oh my god, I've labbed out EX move starter combos, and the blue life you get back is just, oh my god, it's terrible. It's almost non-existent.
Really? So, like, basically nothing with those starters now?
Almost. Like if you get an EX starter and then you do into like 5k, about less than a third of that 5k damage is blue life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that is a huge change. The other thing about it is now when you spark, if you deal sparking combo damage, you leave less blue health behind.
You deal less you deal less blue life damage, and additionally, you also can activate sparking on block.
Yes. So, all right. So there's kind of like two different things we want to get here. So let's first lean into that blue life change. How are you feeling about this blue life change?
Okay, so the blue life change basically makes it for me because I don't have a snap focus team. I don't have like a snap loop team. So I run Bardock, 16, and Tien. All I'm doing is getting in, getting my hits, getting my damage, and for me, snapping is even less of a priority if a character decides to tag out, because there's not a lot of blue life. It's not like before where you deal damage to somebody and you want to make sure they stay in, because if they tag out, then they get back all that blue life. Because originally in Season 1, off of a non-invincible starter, the amount of blue life you got from a combo was half of that combo's damage. So if you did 5k, 2,500 of that was real damage. The rest of it was blue life. Now it's more a third.
Yeah.
I feel like 1/3 is the magic number for this patch, because 1/3 is a multiplier that you see in the blue life, and it's a multiplier that you also see in double level 1 scaling.
Very true. And I think one of the other big things about this shift is that previously before, if you landed the first combo, and let's say they managed to tag out, it felt like you accomplished almost nothing, because the amount of blue health they were getting back essentially nullified any meter spent, right? Like, so if you got a combo, you didn't want to spend any meter, because if they managed to get out, you wasted the damage, like plain and simple.
Exactly, and especially if you can't create a situation where you can snap in the incoming character.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And then I think even beyond that, I think this really went to address. So one of the major complaints as a spectator going into Season 1, length of games. And this is something that people have gone back and forth on. Is the game too long? And I think the blue life change has, on average, now granted, this is largely anecdotal. I don't have empirical evidence for this, but I watch a lot. I do commentary. For me, I definitely have noticed that the average length of games has decreased. Do you have a similar experience, or do you think it's about the same?
I have a similar experience, and this is also purely anecdotal. This is based on personal experience from games that I've personally played. And considering that I'm coming from New York, where, a bunch of us are just fucking godlike at Dragon Ball. So
damn, all right, New York.
Yeah, so I played a bunch of casuals at Next Level last week with Master Mike.
Okay.
And on average, our games took about 150 seconds, so about 2.5 minutes,
Okay.
which is which is, I feel like a lot faster than saying going down to like 99 or, 75 seconds or the very rare timeout. But yeah, it just really felt like the games felt faster overall. It didn't feel like I was just sitting here just, watching, a Dragon Ball episode.
Right, where you're kind of living that, where the games really did kind of feel like they dragged before, especially in I think the biggest place that it showed grand final sets, where you're playing any tournament, you're playing 3 out of 5 for Dragon Ball. It almost always ran over at major tournaments, just because like in those 3 out of 5 sets, especially at high level play for season 1, there was a lot of defensive play. And as a result, it dragged those games out. And I feel like the Blue Life change has incentivized offensive play. It's essentially, it's no longer punishing you for not finishing your food. I think that's really what this change did.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
So that kind of leads us into the sparking change here. Also, chat, let me know how the audio is. Are the audio levels balanced correctly? You can always type to me in the chat. I would appreciate any kind of feedback. I know you're here, my boy, so let me know. But yeah, so sparking changes. How do you feel on that end?
Okay, so sparking changes, and this isn't something that I've seen come up in games yet, mainly because, the patch isn't even a week old.
Yes.
But but just another quick rundown of the sparking changes. You can now spark on block. You can spark and block stun. However, any spark that isn't in a combo, so basically if you're sparking in the neutral, if you're sparking on block, is actually slower than sparking mid combo. On top of that, you can now reflect spark.
Yes.
But you have to commit to the spark. You basically have to read the spark. Because it's, I think it's like, I remember it originally being frame 1 active. I'm not sure what the frame data on Spark is right now, but you have to basically read it, you have to reflect it. But I like that you can reflect it now, because that basically means that, DPs and stuff like, Chaozu aren't the only way to bait it.
Yes.
I like that we have, one more option.
Yeah.
Because options are always good.
I agree with that. I think one of the biggest things as a fighting game developer that you can do, you want to enable your players to have multiple tools to approach any given situation. And I really feel like with this patch, they have tried very hard to give us more tools. Now, the other thing they did was they actually increased the startup frames on sparking, which the difference isn't super dramatic, but they also left it with original startup frames if you use it offensively.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like that change. We don't see too many offensive sparkings, because also you don't want to disrupt those combos. Like if you're willing to commit a sparking to a combo, it should probably work properly. So I think overall the sparking changes were, for the most part good. I like that it really does feel like comebacks are much more possible with the reduced amount of blue life, on top of the already reduced blue life we were talking about before.
Yeah, and when they first made the announcement that they were trying to make 1v3s a more frequent thing as far as like comeback potential, I wasn't sure what they were gonna do. I was actually kind of afraid. I thought they were gonna give us like a new system mechanic that was gonna kind of break the game.
You mean X Factor?
Basically. I thought they were gonna give us straight up X Factor, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to withhold judgment until they drop the patch. I was like, for a lot of this for me is a lot of wait and see, because regardless of what the patch gives us, regardless of what tools we get taken from us, it's up to us to make the most of it, and it's up to us to adapt and play with it, because again, it's there. No amount of whining, no amount of complaining is going to change the fact that the game is what it is.
That is very, very true. And I think that some players have kind of taken this patch in stride, others have not. I think the next kind of issue to get into, this is more of one of the minor changes. People haven't really talked about this one in a time. What do you think about the shifting away from meter build being as heavily placed on when you're being hit by supers as opposed to normals now.
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
Okay, so they made a change where before you gained more meter when you were being hit by supers. This is like being hit. And they shifted it towards normals now. So you build more meter while taking hits from normals than you did before, and you build less from being hit by supers.
I can. Wow, that change I wasn't aware of, but I don't know. That's not. I feel like considering the shift not only from getting more meter hit from normals than getting hit from supers. I guess that ties into the meter nerf of getting bars spent.
Yes.
That kind of evens out. So it's just like, so a lot of meterless routes are just gonna get more meter for attacker and defender. And if you're getting hit by normals after getting hit with a super, then you're basically low key trading life for bar, because while in the cooldown you're getting hit, but you're getting more meter, whereas the person that's hitting you isn't getting as much because they just dump bar into supers for damage.
Yep. So now they're stuck in meter penalty while you're still gaining meter for being hit. So
Yeah.
I think this was a really nice change. And I also think it was done with a little bit of preparation. And I think they were kind of accounting for the fact that with the changes to super meter penalty, that a lot more meterless routes were going to emerge. And they wanted to reward, well, not reward, but at least help the player who is going to be hit by these meterless routes. I think this was a preemptive move on Bandai Namco's side.
Yeah, and going back to the meter nerf, it now basically makes meter a more valuable resource as opposed to the common resource that it was in Season 1, because, hey, okay, so you're not going to be able to build meter for 5 seconds. How am I going to get my damage without dumping even more bar? And how am I going to establish my game plan in a way where I have the meter when I need it? Because now you can't just the term that was being thrown around in Season 1 was that nobody likes a cheap date. Spend that cash. If you had it, spend it.
Yep, spend the cash.
And spend the cash. But now you have to spend the cash smartly. You have to invest.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big things that they've done is with a lot of the changes they've made, they want you to not just spend your meter for damage every single time. That they are slapping players over the head with this, not only by placing penalties on, meter gain after using meter, but also in the fact that they've now buffed the other tools that you can use if you have meter. And I think that was a really smart, because they kind of tackled it on two axes. Instead of just going, hey, stop doing that, don't do this anymore, they're also like, here's some other cool things you can do if you don't do that. So because obviously the biggest and most divisive issue, which we'll get to last, is going to be guard canceling, which is that is a whole topic unto itself, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, but before we get into guard cancel, I want to elaborate more on the meter nerf.
Okay.
The meter nerf changes, because it basically tells us, hey, stop doing this constantly. But I feel like the execution of the meter nerf change was a bit too blanket.
Okay.
And it inadvertently affected characters and other mechanics. Now, one of the popular team comps for Dragon Ball in Season 1 was the double super comp. So you had people that facilitated the double stuff like Kid Buu and Gotenks. And then you had characters with the faster supers like Cell and Vegeta and Tien, who could just come in, just do their super, and then, they're still getting hit by, the facilitator super, so Kid Buu or Gotenks, and then spend a third bar and get the third super for more damage. Now, with the Season 2 change, if you try to do a second level 1 with the character without Z changing, that second level 1 is scaled to a third, the magic number, of the first level 1's damage. So, to give you the perfect example, Tien's damage floor for his level 1 is 960.
Okay.
However, but if you try to do the typical double level 1 scenario with Gotenks and Tien, his first level 1 will do 960, and then his second level 1 will do 320. But
right.
you're still doing the 1000 life burn for 320 damage. So yeah, no, not worth it.
Yeah, so you're still paying the same price, but you're getting so much less bang for your buck that it becomes painful at that point because
Yeah,
you're
and then,
really not getting rewarded for spending your meter in that way.
yeah, and then on top of the scaling, which I feel was an appropriate move, it basically moved away from team homogeny, and and now we get to see teams that don't rely on double level ones. But at the same time, they also inadvertently hit a couple of points where I feel like QA should have been employed before they dropped the universal change, because all forms of meter gain are nerfed after spending meter. That includes
Yes.
key charge. That includes key charge. Key charge is nerfed.
That is oof. I literally don't actually have a response to that one.
No.
Wow.
So, like, somebody mentioned it on Twitter. If you spend bar and you try to key charge afterward just to see what it would do, you get next to no meter. Your meter gain crawls. It's the funniest thing to see.
That's insane. Like you're already committing to a terrible option and you literally get no reward anymore.
Basically. Additionally, Empty Vanish was also hit for sparking roads, which I think is an odd choice, but I can kind of understand it since sparking combos are just like, okay, they're kind of long enough as it is. But the one thing that it's broke my heart, and we talked about this before the podcast, Golden Frieza.
Oh, okay. Now, in my community, there is a very, very prolific Frieza player. And he knows the character is not top tier, but he still stands that character. And when he saw the Golden Frieza changes, this man was legit heartbroken. He was just like, why? He's like, it was already bad. I was never going to use it, but now I'm really never going to use it. It's like, I don't know. That's a tough break. Actually, in the chat, that's another interesting example. I don't know if you've seen this before. Have you seen the version of Ghost Oki where you dash in between the 4 ghosts and charge key?
No, I've actually never seen that.
I've seen this 2 or 3 times. It's actually really dope because a lot of players don't actually know what to do about it. What you have to do is like basically level 3 in that situation. Yeah, it's the Yahosi tech. After school with the knowledge out here. Let's go.
I appreciate it, man. But so let me guess. You do level 3, then for your post level 3 Oki, you go into level 1 and then you key charge. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you dash into the middle of the 4 ghost.
Oh my god, that is, y'all are degenerates. I don't know how to feel about this. I thought my team was bad, but that's some degenerate shit.
I thought you were upset the key charge was being nerfed. This was like the one situation you could use it safely.
I know, but the fact that even existed in season 1, I'm like, y'all are degenerate as hell.
Yeah, I've literally only seen 2 players do it in bracket, and then Yahosi obviously invented the tech. The 2 players I've seen do it are Yinja, he's a player from Colorado, and the other man in the chat, My Fat Toy. I watched him do it on stream.
Oh my god.
His opponent, yeah, JDiesel, his opponent was a little miffed. That's the only way that I can put it. Because his opponent first tried to jab, hit the first ghost, then vanished, and then hit the second ghost.
You should have just blocked, buddy. You should have just let him hold the charge.
He straight up charged 5 bars.
Oh. Damn, Toy. Damn.
Like, you want to talk about demoralizing someone mid-set. Like, it was one of the most BM things I've ever seen. So shout out to JDiesel. Oh my god.
I will give you a lot of respect for that. I will also call you a degenerate, but you are degenerate with my respect.
You know what? You gotta leave it to the degenerates though, right? Because without them, you wouldn't get those golden moments. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. Yeah. Speaking of golden.
Oh no.
No. So I have been just working my way up the ranks, online, just to get all the practice I can get, because I really want to get good at this game.
All right.
And one thing I accidentally discovered.
Oh god.
One thing it's not that I accidentally discovered. It's what happens when opponents try to push buttons on Wake Up.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, I run Bardock, 16, and Tien in that order. So I get the knockdown on this guy, right?
Okay.
And one thing I like to do, one thing I've started doing recently, is that I've used 16 assist to cover Bardock, like to visually cover Bardock as I'm charging Tyrant Lancer.
There you go.
So what ended up happening is that on Wake Up, this man tried to press a button. He got clipped by 16 assist, and I still got the full charge Tyrant Lancer, and it comboed.
Oh God.
And it was
Feels
the funniest.
feels
I was
bad,
just like,
man.
I'm pretty sure he was mad about that.
I'd be mad about that. The other thing is, I mean, Android 16 has so much hit stun on that assist. You can almost dash up full stage and confirm it. It's absolutely absurd.
Oh, I've actually done that. If I start playing online stuff with people, what I do is I'll mix up round start 236L and 236M.
Okay.
And then if I see that they're respecting it, if I see that they're like blowing it up or reflecting it, what I'll do is that I'll just round start 16 assist, and if they're expecting something else and they get hit,
Oh, 'cause they
I can
probably
literally,
clicked medium 2M. Yeah.
yeah, I can literally run up from round start position, get a 5L start into a B&B, and I'm just like, okay. I do that degenerate shit around here.
Oh my goodness. I
But
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but going back to the patch discussion to meter gain, I feel like the nerf was warranted and it promotes smart meter usage and more meterless routes, but its execution was flawed because Frieza got hit and a couple of other options that didn't necessarily need to get hit got hit.
Yes. And I think that's been one of the biggest changes, honestly. The other thing I kind of want to get into, one of the other biggest changes, we got Dragon Rush sliding knockdowns now.
Oh yeah, the Air Dragon Rush sliding knockdowns. Oh my god, it has so many applications aside from just typical. Oh hey, a couple of characters don't have Oki, they have Oki now, and it's just and it's a good thing because again we're all about wanting more tools and having more tools, and having a slide knockdown for characters who don't have slide knockdown like 16. It's just like, okay, I have an Oki option now. I have to spend bar for it, but I still get Oki. So
Yeah, and I really like that change for the most part. I think it's opened up a lot more routes because I think one of the other issues they were having, right, is they were trying to figure out, especially for low tier characters, one of the biggest differences between high and low tier characters is the ability to set up sliding knockdowns. And I think honestly it was a super graceful way to give every character a sliding knockdown without having to individually touch every character.
yeah, because a lot of the characters that can set up sliding knockdown formula just the Magic series after a double jump, too heavy.
Yeah.
But a handful of characters don't actually have a 2H that knocks upward. You have Cell, you have Vegito, you have I think Boo doesn't have a jump 2H.
No, not in any sort of practical sense.
Yeah, not like Vegeta 2H or Bardock 2H kind of thing. But yeah, so there's a handful of characters that don't have sliding knockdowns, and just to have everybody be able to slide knockdowns, it's like, okay, I can set up slide knockdown already. Let me get SKD off of Air DR anyway. It's just another tool, but
Yeah.
it makes characters more viable again, and it basically incentivizes team creativity.
Yeah, I think the other big thing about the DR change that is kind of being neglected to a certain extent is you get the sliding knockdown from any height,
Yeah.
which is a big deal because there were characters who could get sliding knockdowns, but it was height dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's, if you end up in one of those odd situations where you're near the top of the screen, you can still get your SKD. All you got to do is commit 1 meter and take the Dragon Rush, which is a really big unifying change. So I was a big fan of the Dragon Rush change there.
And it also lends itself to team synergy because I don't know if you saw this one video going around where it was a Broly Trunks combo, and so this is what happens. You know that Broly has two versions of his level 3, one of them which is immediate, one of them which is delayed. And if you do the delayed level 3 at a low enough height, you can still combo after it.
Yes.
So how this works is it's just like, okay, I'm gonna do the short combo into delayed level 3, land, wait for the explosion to go off, then jump and air DR. And then right after the impact of air DR, Z change into Trunks level 3. It works.
That is really nice. Damn.
And even with the damage scaling, I don't even think oh no, because it's just raw level 3. You get 6K, but it's 6 bars. It's impractical, but it's swaggy as fuck, and I love it.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, just by giving your players more options, which is, I feel like, what the big theme of this patch has been, it has enabled more things like that. Impractical or not impractical, give me the choice and let me figure out the practicality of it. As a player, that's what I want. I want the ability to decide if I want to just, lab out some combo that I can slap on Twitter and maybe get 3 retweets for. Or,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want the option to do. One of the other changes...
combos.
Exactly. By the way, people in chat, if you go on Twitter and you find a combo and you use that combo and you don't like and retweet them, you're a bad person. I'm calling you out for that.
Bunch of degenerate tech thieves. That's the word for today's podcast. Degenerate.
Degenerate is the word of the day.
Yes, it is.
I feel like in the FGC, that's the word of every day. Oh my goodness. Other changes we got with Dragon Rush was decreasing the amount of damage dealt and ki built.
I agree with that. I am fully on board with that change. Mainly, there's a bit of bias behind that agreement. Mainly because I still can't tech DRs to save my life.
You know what, CJ? I respect you admitting to that.
I still don't quite understand the timing for teching DRs, but the fact that I'm not getting destroyed as hard for not teching, I can actually take the throw, as the Street Fighter V crowd would put it.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing is this was clearly a direct shot at snapback meta. Like, they clearly... Because the way that kind of the pre-season 1 meta developed is it started out very much as, okay, block string meta, where we had, pre-nerf adult Gohan, who had EX legs for 30 seconds. Yeah. And then we transitioned into Bardock meta, where it was level 3 Oki between Bardock and 16. And then finally we transitioned into snapback meta.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have expressed that out of those 3 metas, they dislike snapback meta the most. Because it's the one where you least feel like you get to play.
Yeah. And the thing is and this was something else that came up on Twitter earlier that I actually agree with, is I would rather a fighting game create this atmosphere that encourages player interactions as opposed to basically looking for the play style that prevents your opponent from playing. Because at that point, it's just like single player games in terms of like Dragon Ball aren't fun to watch. In my spectator experience, they're not fun to watch because it's just like, okay, so you're just going to keep this guy in a cage all day until he dies. And it's just like, okay, where's the fun in that? Like, how is that enjoyable for anybody?
Yeah, and I think Bandai Namco definitely, with this patch, in no simple terms, they took aim at it. Because they didn't like the environment that it was creating. And I think that was, kind of the reason for this. Next change we have here. Ground backdashes.
Yes.
Hey, yes. Yinja, let's go, my man. Woo. So, what are your thoughts on this? Hit me with it.
All right. So, for people who don't know what the backdash changes are, which is probably like all of one of you. Basically, what the backdash change is it covers about twice as much ground as the pre-patch backdash, but the duration is the same. So essentially, your backdash is a lot faster. Meaning, if you block Vanish, you can backdash out of all the large 5LLs. So if you get hit with 16, if you block a 16 vanish, you can backdash that 5LL. If you block Vegito, you can backdash the
Oh,
5L
that
of the
one
gods.
specifically, he has the 5L of the gods. There's no other way to describe that. Also, welcome to Yinja and Bondi. You remember that Colorado player I was talking about?
Yinja, right?
Yeah, he
Hey,
popped
there
into
he
the
is.
chat. No, and it's great to see you, Bondi. I'm also glad you like the banner, my man. But yeah, no, the defensive changes that have come from increasing that backdash speed, I've noticed it so much already in my games.
Oh yeah, it's super fun.
Also, I have to ask. Oh, my fat toy with the subscription. Thank you very
My,
much, man. Much
my fat toy,
appreciated.
you the best boy.
Absolutely, man's getting it.
Facts.
But one of the big changes. I know you've seen the clip. Have you seen the clip of Nokami finding out about the new Goku Black change?
Oh, the fact that he can't get
Yeah.
IAD jumping heavy. What's it? Jump heavy anymore?
It's
Rip.
it's light teleport. He can't do level 3 into teleport anymore for mid stage Oki. It doesn't work. They just
It's
wake up backdash. I was
yeah.
playing on ladder the other day, and I had just seen that clip on Twitter, and I played against a Goku Black, and the first time he did the level 3, I took the mix. The second time I backdashed, and I don't think I've ever he just stopped moving. He just didn't know what to do. He's like,
Did he seriously stop moving though?
yeah, he did. He stopped moving for like a solid couple seconds because I think he just was like, what was that?
Because he expected to get the hit, and it's just like that's a thing now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things that's such a big deal is like when you have changes like these, like when you change something as small as backdash, you might be trying to target something like the interaction with 16 or Vegito during a vanish.
Yeah.
But it's going to have knock-on effects like the Goku Black mid-stage Oki change that,
Mhm.
weren't necessarily intended. Because I don't think that was what they were targeting with that change.
And I feel like Goku Black is a mid character at best. So yeah, that kind of trims his options down quite a bit.
Absolutely. And I think that is just one of those things that's just like kind of unfortunate caught in the crossfire. And I feel like for most of the negatives that we have had in this patch, I think a lot of it comes down to caught in the crossfire, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, things like, Beerus level 1 to level 3, Frieza, Golden Frieza, things like Goku Black's mid stage level 3 Oki. These weren't the things that were being targeted, but I think these are things that have contributed to a lot of the disdain for this patch. Because you're like, why are you attacking these things? And the answer was they weren't trying to attack those things, but by making blanket changes, they've indirectly affected them.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I feel like in regards to some of these accidental changes, City should have been
that they should have QA'd it.
they should have definitely QA'd it, because I feel like I feel like there was almost no QA involved with some of these changes, because if there were any form of QA, they would have been able to flag more exceptions, like the whole thing with Goku Black Oki, or the whole thing with Beerus level 1 into level 3, or Golden Frieza in general. And they made a lot of system changes, but for me, I also would have liked a couple of cosmetic changes.
Okay, that's
For
actually an interesting angle. What are you looking for with in terms of cosmetic changes?
Okay, so we've talked about having a multitude of tools for, handling situations, and I feel like they covered that pretty well with most of the changes for season 2. However, they've yet to give us necessary information changes, and it's more of a quality of life thing for
Okay.
players. And I also feel like having all the information that you need for any given situation is vital to how you approach your situations. So three things that don't have intuitive visual cues. Gohan levels are indicated by visual lightning, but no one's going to pay attention to that.
I can't mid-game. I'm not looking at how many crackles of lightning are on Gohan. I have gotten to the point where I can tell if he is level 1 or level 0. That's the only one that I can tell. I can't tell anything beyond that.
Exactly, and there is no visual indicator in the bend the bar to power up, and there is no other indicator, and I feel like that's kind of counterproductive.
Okay.
Because it's just like, okay, how much bar do I want to spend? What level am I on? And do I want to commit anything further? So that's cosmetic change number 1. Number 2 is Ginyu, because it's a lot of Ginyu players would say that this UI change would be a nerf.
It would be,
but it's just like, but I would rather know what's going on instead of me having to worry about what Ginyu member is next. I lost track. Where are they next in their string? It's just I'd rather have that visual, because Platinum the Trinity has that in Blaze Blue.
Okay.
Because Platinum has a bunch of different items that are attached to their drive, and after you run out of one, it's just like, okay, this one's next on the list.
Right. It clearly conveys that information. As a Ginyu main myself, obviously I'm going to be biased on that particular issue. Where
and you're more than welcome to that.
Yeah,
bias.
where like for me personally, I would not want that change. Because personally, I think there should be a certain amount of onus on my opponent to be tracking, kind of like if you're playing a MOBA, tracking my cooldowns. And the other big thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is whenever a character dies, right? Ginyu always resets to Goldo as what's up next. And I think a lot of people don't know that or haven't taken the time to learn how the character works. And I think as a result, I think changing Ginyu so it always displays who he has up next would be a very, very big deal when it's not something that for him that should really take that much effort to track. I think for Gohan levels, it should be indicated purely because the visual difference is very minimal in terms of 3 cracks of lightning versus 4. Whereas for Ginyu, if you can't remember that a giant tornado just flew in front of you and that Goldo is up next, you might not be playing the same game as me. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of my piece.
Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fair. For me though, it's more about, okay, what's some unintuitive information that could be clearly displayed in UI situations. And for me, I'm big on consistency.
Okay, so that makes sense.
So while I understand it's just like, okay, it would be the onus on you to remember, where Ginyu is in his summon cycle. At the same time, it's just like, if we can convey that information like we're conveying Gohan, or for my third change, Frieza, then I feel like, hey, this is a thing that we can do. And speaking of Frieza, we need an actual timer for Frieza, because you saw Red Bull summoning.
Oh my god.
You saw what happened to Tachikawa.
What happened to Tachikawa was, okay, so here's the thing. Maybe this would be a buff to Golden Frieza. I don't know. I think if he runs out of Golden Frieza while he's being comboed, maybe have him pop for a second and reset. I don't know. But the fact that his time ran out while being comboed, and so he popped out and then deactivated Golden, that's egregious. That should not work that way.
No, the fact that he was in the middle of blocking and Golden Frieza ran out and then he died. That was egregious.
Yeah, I agree. I think Golden Frieza as an install overall needs to be overhauled. Because I don't think anyone's happy with it. I don't think Frieza players are happy with it. I don't think anyone else even thinks about it. And let me put it this way. When a character has a level 3 option and I don't think about them ever using it, that tells me there's something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am more concerned about Frieza using the get up level 3 off the ground than I am of him using his install, which makes him faster and do more damage.
Makes him faster, do more damage, and he gets reverse beat.
Yes.
which lends itself to some very interesting routes.
Something that I've heard Frieza players propose to actually address this would be make it cost 5 meter, but make it permanent.
And that wouldn't be a bad idea because because given the shifting meter economy season 2, that's a big investment, and that would also limit Frieza's utility in a team comp.
Agreed.
Because then that would basically make him the de facto anchor.
What I would do if they do that, well, what you would see a lot more is him being paired with characters like Vegito, like battery characters, basically, to try to pump that out. I don't know. It would be kind of reminiscent of Hulk, or not Hulk, sorry, Juggernaut from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I don't know if you're aware of this, but with Hulk in that game, if you do his power up super right and you tag him out, he retains the power up permanently for the rest of the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a glitch. It's not actually supposed to work that way, but it's fantastic. And it would be kind of the same thing, except in this case, I know it's Jugs. Don't kill me here.
He corrected himself.
I did. I caught myself. But you allow that to happen, and I think that would give Frieza... Because imagine if he also got a little bit of a damage boost on his assist. By having that permanent change, but make it a feature, not a bug, I think it would incentivize Golden Frieza usage rather than having it be as we could see through Tachikawa's, Red Bull summoning situation, a liability. I shouldn't be spending 3 meter to put a ticking time bomb on myself.
Basically. And it's not even the good kind of ticking time bomb. Because because this is the kind of ticking time bomb where it's just like basically if you don't kill them, it's basically using Pandora in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. It's just like if you don't finish them in those 7 seconds, you die.
Yeah, and I think this game does not lend itself to that. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Now, kind of pivoting into our next patch change, we are almost at the big one itself. This one's kind of fluff for the most part, but obviously we should still talk about it for completeness' sake.
Sure.
How do you feel about the Shenron changes?
The Shenron changes? Now, if I remember correctly, the Shenron changes in terms... didn't they change it so that Shenron revived both characters instead of just one?
No, you just get more health back on your one revived character.
That I remember. And what else was the other change?
They made Make Me Immortal better. It doesn't actually matter. They did it for those cool hype moments where you get Shenron, so that way you can, maybe get something going.
They made Make Me Immortal after nerfing Blue Life because they figured, hey, law of average, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I ever summoned Shenron, it was right when I started the game. I picked Make Me Immortal, and I remember I was like, oh man, they're never gonna kill me now. And I remember like watching my life just slowly, inch by inch, tick up, and I was like, what is this? What? And I remember being genuinely confused at how bad it was. So for day 2 me, I'm really glad they made this change. That's who it's for. It's for day 2 me.
Yeah, that seems fair.
The bringing back the second character with more life is actually probably likely to maybe have minor tournament impact, because before it wasn't really worth it because you got an assist back, but it was so minimal.
Yeah, and I think you were only brought back with 20% life. So it's just like, okay, so if this character gets snapped in, he's gonna die.
Yeah, I mean it was simple as that, and now I think it's closer to 40%. So
yeah.
It's
okay. 40% I can deal with. I mean, they might still die, but
right. If you take a 2M starter, you're still dead, but you're not gonna die from like vanish into a couple hits. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna avoid stuff like that, or being not chipped out, but picked up by a single Kamehameha, stuff like that.
Exactly. So it's just like, okay, so there's a bit more incentivization to summon Shenron. A couple minor changes, but nothing as big as, okay, heal all my wounds.
Yeah. Now here we go.
Oh boy,
obviously, for those of you in the chat, you've all been waiting for this. I gotta ask you, How do we feel about the guard cancel changes?
And I kind of want to see what the chat says before we give our.
I actually do want to ask that chat. Right now in the chat, put a 1 if you like the guard cancel changes, and put a 2 if you dislike the guard cancel changes. I'll give you guys 30 seconds. Put whatever you want. Or if you want to explain your thoughts, throw some stuff in there. But I want to hear from you guys. Did you just put a 12? Did you just put a 12, Five Fat Toy? Oh my god. What are the changes? Oh man. 21. Okay, Yinja with the 1. All right, guys. All right. Okay, so it looks like chat is leaning more towards liking the guard cancel changes, except for my fat toy who put 12. So I'm going to assume you both like and dislike the changes, because that's the only thing I'm going to read that as. 2 if
you're Kazunoko. And so it's like, okay, you won the season 1. Okay, get benched.
Oh my goodness. All right, so obviously there's no way we can talk about guard cancel without going over what the actual changes were, first and foremost. So the big change here is previously guard cancel is while in block, you could spend a meter and you could tag into another character, and it was basically a raw tag, except they kind of popped in during a block string. So previously,
and it was also less safe than a raw tag.
Correct, because previously the only thing that you could guard cancel in on was some specials, not even all of them, and lows, and that was it, or occasionally a key blast. So you had maybe 3 things you could get in on. It wasn't really all that often used. Even at the highest level, it was considered a liability more than anything in Season 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the worst thing would be when people guard cancel into EX Gohan legs.
Or EX Beyblade for Gotenks.
Yeah, I watched that happen over and over. Because he would EX Beyblade you and then snap mix you. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm glad I spent a meter to do that. That was real effective. But the big change they made going into Season 2, so it has the same functionality of tagging into your second character, but your character is now invulnerable until they make contact with the opponent. So...
And additionally, as a result, you can basically... So EX Beyblade, useless. EX Legs in a block string, useless. If anyone commits to a special in their block strings, that is a free guard cancel opportunity. Now, it has a caveat. If you guard cancel at the wrong time, you are actually less safe on block because there's increased recovery and increased landing recovery.
Yes.
So before, you'd get the unoptimal combos because it's like, okay, guard cancel, okay, let me body you, get you out of here. No, now you can possibly die because you're so unsafe, you can get 2M punished.
Right. And for those of you that don't know, a 2M is going to lead to an unscaled combo, which means you are taking max damage if you mess up a guard cancel now. So there's also, I think one of the things with guard cancel that, in fairness, we have to break down, the difference between a quarter guard cancel and a mid stage. Because, so originally people were freaking out over guard cancel because I don't know if you saw the clip of Adult Gohan throwing out his jab, getting guard canceled, and then using level 3 Kamehameha, and then watching a Goku fly full screen and hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember that clip came out, and I remember people going, see, look here. This is exactly why guard cancel's broken. It's impossible to punish. It's like, okay. And I remember seeing that clip and thinking, damn, guard cancel's OD. How is anyone going to beat this? And that was mid-stage. Now, obviously, why is that not true anymore, Retro?
Because for mid-screen guard cancels in general, and I'm pretty sure you've seen the same video that I've seen, is one of our New York players, Sage, put out a video.
By the way, bless Sage. Yo, if any of you are not subscribed to Sage, go subscribe to him. That guy is amazing. He puts out so much quality tech. Sorry, I had to
So
shill him for a second. Like, damn.
no. Listen. This is your podcast. You can show whatever you want within reason, but
Thank
you
you,
will
my
not hear
man.
me complain. But speaking of Sage released a video where he went through almost every single character's options that didn't include 2H, DP, or level 3, or Vanish. And believe it or not, there are quite a few options that can beat a mid-screen guard cancel.
Yeah.
Sage also he may talk a lot of shit, but I'm not privy to that, so I don't think I'm at liberty to speak about that.
You know what? I am, especially when I'm still holding my L. Oof. Yeah, sorry about that, Yin. Yeah, Yin lost to Sage in bracket.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't say anything about that. So
you know what?
I'm not gonna have to hold that.
I'm not asking you to. I'm not asking you to. But as time has gone on, most people have realized the mid-stage guard cancel is really not that good. It's better than it was, obviously, but it loses. Oh, that's right. You bodied Sage in bracket. My bad, Yinja. I'm sorry. That was a little bit of a revisionist history for me. Sorry about that, my man. Ooh, they talk trash about you. That's a big oof, Yin.
That's a big yikes.
That is a big yikes. Don't do it. But anyways, you kind of end up in the situation where, it is challengeable mid-stage, right? It's not unbeatable. The big frustration with guard cancel has been in the corner, though. And a lot of people are saying I think the big complaint a lot of people are having is it's unreactable, is what a lot of people are saying.
But here's the thing, though. Because of the way guard cancel works, and because of basically it's been a week, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows what the game. Everybody that's been playing seriously knows what the guard cancel changes are. So if you know that you're gonna have trouble reacting to it in the corner, then that means that you have to put more thought into how you're going to implement your block strings in a way where they're safe from guard cancels. So in the event that they decide to guard cancel, don't overcommit to where you get hit and you're reset to neutral. Basically it's less stagger. It's basically less snap meta, and now this is going to be more of the stagger meta, because staggers are going to be super important in this game, especially with the way that guard cancels function at the moment.
Yeah, because another aspect of guard cancel in terms of baiting it that's really important is some people will try to preemptively guard cancel, where they're expecting you to go into the next part of your string, and they'll be kind of they'll try to basically tap forward as soon as it's going to come out. I've seen people walk forward because they were clearly trying to guard cancel, but I didn't throw a button. And that comes up, a lot, actually. And
it's just like, okay, congratulations, you just walked forward.
Yeah, exactly. Like you walked forward. Like, thanks, man. Let me reset my pressure now. But aside from that, I think one of the biggest things with guard cancel is, so previously I talked about how the meta has sort of evolved over Season 1, right?
Yes.
Now, the big commonality in Season 1 was offense has always been vastly superior to defense in this game, because we have not had real defensive options. And you can go back and look through the tweets from Season 1. There were a lot of people complaining that there was not defensive options in this game, because we had guard cancel, which didn't really work. We had reflect, which you can put yourself in a 50-50 in certain situations, where if you reflect against a character like Cell, you either have to commit to the second reflect or you don't.
Yep.
And you can get mixed for that. And you had Vanish.
Yep.
And those were really your three defensive options that we had in Season 1. And all of them had staggering weaknesses. Not in terms of being beaten by staggers, but a lot of weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
But they finally decided that, okay, we want to enable defensive play. And I think the reason people are struggling with this patch, at least my take, is that I think a lot of people had been very used to relying on the fact that offense is stronger than defense in Dragon Ball. And as a result, they have not learned to play around their opponent's defensive options.
And I totally agree with that. Additionally, I feel like since people took meter gain for granted, since people took the withering offense for granted, now that the meter gain has been scaled back, now that the offense has been scaled back in light of guard cancel, and it's just like, okay, now you need to reevaluate how you go about your offense, how you go about your meter building. And some people take it granted to the point where they're still kind of in shock right now. It hasn't really been a week. People haven't really had a chance to ease themselves into the changes. They've just kind of just gone face first into it, but it's not giving you productive returns.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting here complaining about changes that, may or may not be a detriment to the game at a high level.
So
it's just like, okay.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No. So one big thing that I actually wanted to kind of bring up is I saw people earlier talking about how patches can make you a better or worse player. And that is not true. I will stand by my words on this. That is not true. A patch will never make you personally a better or worse player. What it will do is it will adjust the reward you receive for the style of play that you employ currently. So if you're a very aggressive player and the patch lends itself to aggressive play, you're going to have great returns on your play. When the patch changes and starts incentivizing defensive play, you didn't get worse as a player. The system is no longer rewarding you for what you're good at, though. Which means if you want to keep getting that same level of rewards that you were getting previously, you have to make adjustments. You didn't get worse. The game just stopped rewarding you for what you were doing.
Yeah, and additionally, and this was also something that we touched on, pre-show, where this sort of thinking where patches make or break a player is peak North American thinking.
Yes.
And this is something that I've discussed with several people in the last year, where it's a difference of mentality between the North American fighting game community and the Japanese fighting game community. With the Japanese FGC, they're presented with a problem, they will literally sit around a whiteboard, have a bunch of dry erase markers on hand, and write stuff down, figure it out. It's like, okay, what are possible solutions? What are possible solutions for the problem that we have in front of us? You do that with a good chunk of, if you try to do that with the North American team, people are just their first instinct is to complain, is to whine, is to bitch and moan, and focus on the problem instead of trying to find solutions. It's like, okay, this is what we have right now. How are we as a scene going to adjust? How are we as players going to adjust to these changes? But no, it's all like, oh, this game is dead. Oh, these changes are trash. Oh, the games are going to go on even longer now. And it's just, I feel like it's just a lot of misguided energy.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when players panic when they see a patch, because they just look, especially with general changes, because when a character specifically gets buffed or nerfed, right, it's kind of easy to gauge the impact that's going to have. You know what I mean? Whereas when you change system mechanics, it's a lot harder for people to evaluate that and to come to any sort of meaningful conclusion. Like if you told me before patch that backdashes are going to be faster, and you asked me to tell you everything that would impact, I wouldn't have guessed half of it. Because that's something that I could not gauge until I got my hands on it and I engaged with it. And that's the problem with system mechanics. If you tell me that Android 16's jab goes from frame 6 to frame 7, I just know I'm going to lose more clashes. That's easy to process. It's hard to process system changes, and it's scary. Because you've spent so many hours with this game up to this point grinding, and suddenly it feels like all your hard work is being flipped on its head because the game's like, well, we're not going to reward what made you a great player in Season 1. We're going to reward people who can adapt to this new style that we wish to promote. And I think that's where a lot of the anger and animosity is coming from towards this patch.
But I also feel like, considering the culture that over the last culture is concerned, I feel like flexibility and adaptability are key to doing well in the long term, especially if you're going to be in the competitive circuit. In order for you to make it in the competitive scene, you have to be willing to adapt and be flexible and be open to changes, whether or not you agree with them. Because yeah, some of these changes are very polarizing. The guard cancel change especially. But the sooner you make your peace with it, the sooner you accept it and learn to adjust to it, the better off you'll be in the long run. Because pouring that energy into complaining, into just whining and just venting and doing nothing constructive about your play, it only hinders you in the long run. Because for every person that's complaining, there's another person hitting the lab asking themselves, all right, how do I deal with this?
Yes.
And I feel like more people should adopt that mindset, because solution-oriented thinking is one of the keys to progressing as a competitive player.
I very much agree on that. I think a lot of people get hung up on the things they can't do as opposed to the things they can do. I can't control what Bandai Namco is going to put in the patch. What I can control, however, is how I react to said patch and how I improve my own gameplay to adapt to that. And I think we're going to see honestly, I think we're going to see a big shakeup near the top end of Dragon Ball going into Season 2.
Definitely.
I think we are going to see certain faces who I think have been very, very strong are not going to be as strong if they don't make these adaptations to this patch.
Definitely. And I just feel like, and that means that revise your team. You might have to revise your team order. It's just like there's a lot of new possibilities with Season 2. And I feel like Season 2 has tried to aim itself at basically less homogeny in team comps.
Yes.
So less snap loop teams, less double level 1 teams. It's just they want to make all of their characters viable in some way, shape, or form. Unless you're Android 17, in which case you don't exist. But anyway,
do you remember the month 1 tier list where the lowest tier that we had was B? Do you remember those tier lists?
I think so.
This was way back when the game was just getting started, and a lot of people thought the worst character was B. I don't think anyone would say that anymore. I don't think anyone would slap the worst character. No one's giving Android 17 a B rating. That's not happening.
Nah.
But I think Bandai Namco has never really given up on that version of the game as their vision. Where I think what they're looking for is to have that. They don't need every character to be top tier. But I think they really do want every character to be viable. And I think Big Chap Alien actually raises a good point in the chat here. There are good and bad consequences to every actions. You know, to every change they make, there is going to be good and bad that's going to come with it. The guard cancel change is not unanimously good or unanimously bad. There's nuance to it. And I think the problem is, as players, too many people get locked into this idea of, I have to love the patch or I have to hate it. There's a middle ground. It's okay to say, I like this aspect, but I don't like this aspect. It's not all or nothing.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just like, as far as the changes are concerned, it's okay to like certain things and not enjoy other things. It's fine. I don't think Bandai Namco expects you to like every change. I don't think they expect you to dislike every change. But sometimes the good comes with the bad, and we just need to make the most of it. And yes, Toy, that explains your 12.
You know what? He was right all along. Truly the most enlightened man in chat. Oh my goodness. What a galaxy brain move. Pick nothing. I like it.
Or in his case, pick everything.
Would you like the sandwich or would you like the nuggets? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, a smart man.
Yeah, it's like a Dragon Ball Abridged. It's just like, hey, they're coming to destroy Vegeta. Me, my son, or the planet. Yes.
Yeah.
Dead.
And it really does. It really is like that. And I'm hoping, like, I understand people's frustrations with the patch. I'm hoping a lot of that kind of goes away in time. Because I really think it will. I think the patch is going to grow on people. And for the people who hate this patch, I think it's going to take them, once people on Twitter start posting more and more ways to crush guard cancel, I think they'll come around, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but I think the key source of our frustration is not only unlearning from one. It's
Yes.
more or less the fact that in the information age that we're in right now, it's more or less that, the minute that someone gets that patch day one, all of a sudden we're flooded with a bunch of tech. And I think it's the fact that a lot of this stuff takes time to develop. It takes time to extrapolate. Yes. It doesn't fall into the norm of instant gratification that a lot of us in the FGC are used to. Because, if we want to look up combos, if we want to look up tech, we just go to Twitter or we just go to YouTube.
Yep.
And you'll see somebody with like day zero tech. And it's just like, oh, hey, this is day zero optimum tech. And I also feel like in this sense of instant gratification, we also kind of sell ourselves short because we're just basically going after, the YouTube copy pasta. We're not sitting in the lab and figuring stuff out for ourselves and understanding why it works. We're just going to go with the stuff that already works.
Yeah.
So it's and there's nothing wrong with gravitating towards the stuff that works, towards the stuff that's optimum. But I feel like to be more well-rounded as a player, you're understanding the how it works, but you're you're understanding the why it works, but you're not understanding the why of how it works.
Yeah, and I kind of understand that. I'm aware they're a big company with deep projects. They don't have anything. I kind of agree a little bit, Big Chap. I think they probably should take what you're touching on is kind of the lack of QA with the patch. That was something we actually touched on earlier. Where as Big Chap, this is actually the Frieza player I was talking about earlier, Retro.
Oh, so yes. So we talked a little bit about this pre-show, like before the podcast, and we were talking about everything that was incidentally hurt with the meter nerf, including Golden Frieza, including certain parts of Spark, like Empty Vanish and such. And we do agree. We do agree that these blanket changes occurred because of a lack of QA. And we felt like had they QA'd everything and realized the implications of their proposed blanket change, it would have been like, okay, let's flag more exceptions.
Yeah, I think the most egregious example of lack of QA is if Beerus does his level 1 into level 3, right? The setup we talked about earlier.
Yes.
If he does, do you know if Beerus level 3's Goku Black and kills him, you do the Hakai, right?
Yeah, he does 50k damage and basically incinerates.
Yes,
it's so fun.
If Beerus does his level 1 into level 3 currently and does the Hakai on Goku Black will disintegrate even if he doesn't die. It'll do the effect for the Hakai to disintegrate because the game is on one hand going Goku Black should be dead and playing the Hakai animation, but he's not actually dying because the meter change.
And because of the damage scaling, yes.
And that right there to me, that's when he's playing.
That's a huge QA oversight.
That's a huge QA problem. And I think that really is what I think marred the patch the most for people. Where I think if they had just done like the top level stuff, like the guard cancel changes, whatever, I think people would have been frustrated. But I think once they started hitting these more specific things, it really started making people wonder, does Bandai know what they're doing? And once that thought kind of creeps in, it's really hard to shake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then you have to take future things with a grain of salt. Because it's like, okay, we're gonna make changes now. So are we like? It's just like basically on a scale of 1 to 10, how fucked are we?
Yeah, and
instead of being optimistic, now we're cautious and borderline pessimistic about the changes because we've just been burned a handful too many times.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing that you kind of talked about with the evolution of like how people react to patches is heavily influenced by things like Twitter, right? It's interesting, right? So like when I played that game against that Goku Black, the only reason I knew I could backdash his level 3 was because I saw a video on Twitter about it with no Kami. I would have never labbed that myself. You know what I mean? I would have never labbed the fact that I could backdash out of Goku Black's level 3 because it wasn't that way before. And that's a change I would have never considered. Is that a good or bad thing? Is it a good thing that I knew I could backdash out of that even though I never labbed it?
The thing is stumbling. I am a firm power. So the fact that you knew that even without labbing isn't necessarily a bad thing. because at least you now have this understanding. Hey, I can backdash things, and then hopefully it sparks this curiosity as to, if I can backdash Goku Black level
Why
3
can't I
Oki,
backdash other things?
exactly. It's like, either why can't I backdash, or what else can I backdash?
And I think that's a really good way to think about it, where it kind of incentivizes other things that you can do. And I think that's really what kind of Twitter and YouTube should be used for. Like, I think for B&Bs, like if someone posts an optimal B&B, just take it. I think that kind of stuff is fine. But I think when it comes to, like, I guess more specific things, try to
Like
understand the concept behind what's going on. Because once you learn and give yourself those tools, it can come into come in handy in other situations.
Definitely. And I feel like labbing specific situations is important. And it's just like, the more you commit it to memory, the more you can call upon it in an actual fight, because you can grind training mode all you want, but if you can't apply that knowledge in an actual fight, then it's like fighting with a paper plate. You're not really going to get anywhere, and you're going to get your face pushed in.
Yeah, as the best man, as the first person to ever really get me into fighting games once told me, the best combo is the one you can do in bracket.
Yeah.
Because if you can't do a combo in bracket, it's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. You need to be able to pull it. If you can't pull a combo when you need it, you don't actually know that combo. You may understand, like, oh, I need to do these buttons, but you haven't built the muscle memory yet to be able to effectively use it.
Yep. And practice it in the training lab, practice it in online, practice it until you get it consistently.
Yeah.
I once found a TOD route for my old team, which was 16 Tien Yamcha.
Okay.
And my coach was just like, all right, I showed my coach, and my coach was like, all right, do that 10 times consecutively. If you mess up, start from 0. I'm like, okay. And I got it to 10. They're like, okay, get it to 20. And that's how they drilled consistency into me. And that's something that I've actually taken with me whenever I'm not around my coach. It's just like, all right, I'm hitting the lab. Oh, I found this route. Okay, let's start drilling it. Let's start being consistent. And sure enough, I start getting these combos off in bracket, start getting these combos off in ranked. And it's just like, I like that. I feel I can see the results. I can physically feel myself getting better.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big thing that for a lot of players, I think being able to do the combo once is not enough to transition to say a combo. And I think that's where people get hung up. They go, oh, well, I did it 5 times in training mode. You know what I mean? And like, that's great. You had 5 successful attempts, but how many failed attempts did you have?
Exactly.
And you gotta kind of weigh that. And if you fail at a combo, don't let that get you down. Just take that as a challenge to improve your execution, because that ultimately is going to carry you further down the line.
Exactly. And then it's just like, and I feel like consistency and understanding what your character can do is also key. For me, it's just like, okay, this combo, but can you put yourself in a situation where that combo comes into play? Because you could have all the combos in the world. If you don't have neutral, if you can't open your opponent up, those combos aren't worth anything.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think right now, that is a big part of what this change, this patch as a whole has kind of shook people. Because you've poured all the time into learning how to execute things. But now to set up those situations where you're getting your hits has become much more difficult. Neutral has fundamentally changed in this game. And now the question is, how are you going to respond to that? And I think each player has to individually figure out how they're going to approach the new changes. Your pressure is going to have to change. Even movement is going to change because of the backdash changes as well.
Yep.
Because I think ground movement previously wasn't quite as viable, but with the new dashes, I think it's a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah, I feel like ground movement is going to be super important, and I feel like with the way meter functions now, I don't feel like you're going to see as many vanishes in the neutral. Because
I agree on that.
Because of the backdash changes, and two, no one's gonna want to have to deal with a backdash offense. Like no one's gonna want to have to deal with the backdash option if the Vanish gets blocked. And on top of that, you're putting yourself at meter penalty for like what, 500 damage?
Yeah.
For what?
It's not worth it. Yeah, for all Vanish hits for 800. And so
Yeah.
you hit that, now you're in meter penalty, and any kind of follow-up you get is going to be absolutely gimped. And I really don't think that's where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, if you're trying to use it's to like to just at least get out the corner, and that's if your opponent doesn't have the meter, because if they counter Vanish, then you just put yourself a meter penalty, took 800 damage, and you're still in the corner.
Yeah, and that hurts. Now, obviously, we're getting towards the end here. We don't have time for a full discussion, and also it's a bit early. What are your current thoughts on the new DLC, Jiren and Videl?
Okay, so Jiren and Videl, I've played a little bit in the lab with them. I've seen a little bit of tech. I've read some of the tech that's been discussed in in my group chat. I feel like between the two of them, I feel like I'm a bit more afraid of Videl than I am of Jiren.
I think that Videl is going to be the mix-up monster, and I think she's going to have a very, very powerful advantage state. But I think Jiren actually has the more solid neutral of the two.
Yes, definitely.
That's kind of how it comes off to me, at least.
Yeah, Videl is the mix-up monster who has, she has mostly traditional routes as far as like Magic series is concerned, but she is, I think, one of the only characters whose jumping heavy doesn't stall her momentum.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So, and from what I understand, yeah, because she doesn't do that thing like go a little bit. No, she still has gravity working against her as she's doing her jump heavy. So I feel like, and I saw a combo earlier today where if you do jumping heavy at a specific jumping heavy at a specific height, you can still extend the combo.
Right.
Yeah, which is not something that you see very often or at all with the rest of the cast.
I think it's actually a really interesting point. I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Another thing that I found out recently, because I haven't Videl Jiren tech like that.
Okay.
But the thing that scares me is, why is it that Videl retains air actions after Gohan summon?
Interesting.
Yeah. So you can jump in the air, call Gohan,
yeah,
and still air dash and go into like IAG stuff. Yeah. Goichi did it. Goichi did it on, I think, on one of his streams, or maybe, sure. But I read about it and I'm just like, why is that a thing?
I did watch Goichi play a bit of Videl, and honestly, the mix-ups looked absolutely monstrous. I got opened up. I wasn't even playing and I got opened up. Like, it's tough. It's really tough.
It's like, yeah, I got hit.
Yeah, and I think the other big thing is I think Videl is going to have really strong synergy with characters whose assists have low block stun. I don't think she wants super heavy block. Like, okay, I don't think she wants... Like, lockdown is great, obviously, with anything, 'cause she can open up all four corners. But I think stuff like Bardock assist is just perfect for her.
Bardock, Tien...
kind of that middle of the road. You know what I mean? Not 16 anymore. His block stun is low enough that you can Dragon Rush right after you use it. So that's too light. So a little bit more. Where Bardock's hit stun or block stun is a little bit longer. Because that way she can still do Moon Assault. So she can get her backwards cross-ups.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Whereas I think, and obviously Lockdown, like, Kid Buu, Galactic Donut, Go Tanks, like all of that is still going to be fantastic. But I really like her paired alongside that middle of the road block stun. I think it really works well for a character who I think could actually be good with Videl. I would never run it, but in theory it sounds good, is actually Beerus. Where I think Beerus' assist could actually be pretty strong aside from her, alongside her, specifically because his assist with the two separate hits would actually be really nice, including in the corner.
Yeah, I can see where that would definitely come in.
So that's kind of my thoughts. Jiren, on the other hand, I think I really like the design space of Jiren. Specifically because the character I think he's most analogous to currently is gotta be Hit. Hit is the character I think of because I think Jiren actually has some of that defensive play style.
Definitely.
Which do you think is going to make bigger waves out of the two?
Out of the two, I feel like they're both gonna make waves, but they're gonna make waves their own right.
Okay.
So Vidal's gonna make more waves in the mix-up department, and Jiren's just gonna make waves in the neutral department, especially with the way that his counters function, and with just the way that his normals function, because his 5H is a grab.
It is a command grab.
Yeah, it's a one button command grab. Like, how do you can't mess that up?
You are correct. I don't have to input anything. That actually really blew me away the first time I picked up Jiren, and I just clicked heavy, and I'm like, I just do a command grab. Like, it was just very odd for me to have that option.
Yeah, and then if you get that command grab, that, and then just go nuts.
Yeah, it definitely opens up a lot of different possibilities. So, I mean, I think overall, I think it's still a little bit too early to really pass judgment on the DLC. I think probably what I want to see is like their first major before, because remember how Cooler and 17 got really hyped up, and that never really amounted to anything. Especially 17. Cooler, I think, is kept sort of a niche as a character.
Yeah, he's a niche character. 17 is just 17. I mean, we player up here in New York that puts in a lot. 17, like, he makes me afraid to play against 17, but that's mainly because I don't know the matchup. And I feel like once I get more comfortable with the 17 matchup, then I make him less and less relevant. But for the time being, 17 is slept on for me. But that's just me and my lack of experience showing. So, and that'll get better with time.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
And especially when New York has a very strong scene. So sometimes when you have a strong player, even if they're playing a character that might not traditionally be as strong, the character can bring out those strengths. 17 does have strengths, just not enough to carry him in a competitive setting.
Yeah, and I also feel like, and the thing is like, I feel like right now, in my personal experience, 17 is the kind of character where you really need good team synergy to cover his flaws.
Yes. If you're playing 17, your team's built around him. There's no other way about it.
Basically.
But I think out of Jiren and Videl, I actually think Jiren is going to make slightly more waves. That's my pick. I'm ready to be wrong, but I do think it's going to be Jiren purely because I don't think he requires as much support. Whereas I think Videl is a little bit more restrictive on team building. Whereas I feel, because Jiren also has a very nice assist on top of that, where it has a lot of lockdown. I think the coolest thing I've seen is using the Jiren assist to lock someone down through the pseudo hell zone from Zamasu.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, you got to watch me get hit by that on stream the other day. So
yeah, and then there's the whole thing with what was it? And
El Hermano, beautiful.
El Hermano.
El Hermano.
But there's also the fact that Jiren there's a lot that Jiren can do by himself.
Yes.
And you don't really need a team built around him, but having good assists behind him just makes him even more dangerous. Yeah. And it doesn't help that he has 3 moves with counter properties.
He also has a special that functions like a 2H.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So you have the physical counter, you have the
projectile,
the fireball. Yeah, the fireball counter, and then you have 2S, which functions as a counter in its own right.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of potential, and I actually think Jiren is going to make waves. I really wouldn't be surprised to actually see Goichi pick up Jiren. I think that character would work well for him. I said he should have played Hit in season 1. about, where he kind of had that little bit of a rough spell about halfway through.
Yeah.
I think Hit would have been a good character for him. And so by that same sort of line of thinking, I think Jiren would be a good character for Goichi. Especially because I'm
Yeah.
not sure if he's going to stay on Piccolo going into this season.
Yeah. I also feel like I think that one of the things that you're gonna see from Jiren a lot is corner to corner.
He does go coast to coast very
Yeah,
consistently.
yeah. He's one of the only characters that can go coast to coast without spending meter, because all you literally have to do is relaunch setups and then 2S into super dash.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just like, oh my god, what is this character?
Hey, he's also got the Teen Gohan bomb loops too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like he's got a little bit of everything. His corner damage is also fantastic.
The man, like you give him a good pair of assists, he will, and you get smacked with a 2S starter, you will probably die.
Yeah, I mean, most likely. I've seen plenty of instances where Jiren two touches people.
No, I've seen like literally the first day, he had so many TODs off of like a couple of starters, and I'm just like, oh my god, what is this character?
Yeah, I think Jiren is actually going to be really strong. I know a lot of people day one looked at Videl and went, "Look at this mix-up. It's going to be OD," and I'm like, I think Videl is what 17 should have been. But I don't think she's going to warp the meta by herself. That's kind of my take on her.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you brought up a great point where Jiren, kind of similar to his anime counterpart, he doesn't need a squad. He kind of just rolls up by himself and he does a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I feel like because of the way Jiren functions as a character, as far as this is kind of like my personal take on Jiren. Jiren is the kind of character where you could put him in any spot on the team and he'll be just fine.
That's actually a really good observation. I hadn't necessarily considered that. Is he really does kind of function anywhere. I mean, even as an anchor, which is where, most characters are weakest, he still functions reasonably well. He can handle a 1v3 by effective use of counter.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I feel like he's in that same spot with like 16, where 16 kind of can work in about any position,
right,
depending on the team comp. Because Anchor 16 was very common, throughout the season, and then you started seeing people running him mid and point, because the team that they built around, they built the team around each other, not just to assist on just one character. And I feel like with all the changes that are, that they implemented in season 2, we're gonna see a lot less one character to assists and more effective pairings. Because I feel like, because at some point, you're probably going to lose the point war at some point or another.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that the two characters that you have left over in any of your 3 pairings can function just as well as having all 3 characters together.
I very much agree. A conversation that I actually had with one of the top players from New York, actually, Double L himself.
Yes,
Double L. That man is a legend. I would love to have him on sometime. Double L, if this somehow gets back to you should totally come on.
Definitely.
But one of the things that we talked about was I asked him, I was like, Double L, why do you keep Ginyu as your second character and not your first? And because that was very strange at the time, right? Because most Ginyus, they keep their Ginyu on point because you want access to both assists. And he kind of explained to me that, at least his take on it is, your first character you have out is the character you're going to have the most access to, but is the character you are going to lose the most. So, by taking your best character and putting them in the middle of your team, your opponent has likely depleted most of their resources killing your first character. So by having that strong 2-character shell between your second and third slot, it allows you to kind of reset the game but now take it on your own terms. Because a lot of people have things like sparking, TODs, whatever, they'll use to blow through your first character.
But then you still have sparking and 2 strong characters.
Exactly. And I think with a character like Ginyu, as Double L kind of put it, I mean, Double L, I mean, you know, Ginyu plus Vegeta is one of the best shells in the game. Like, as 2 characters get. Because Ginyu excels in a situation where your opponent has fewer options.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really smart. And I think it kind of harkens to what you're talking about here, where those 2 character shells is going to become more and more important as we go along.
Yep. Your first gear point character is essentially the sacrificial lamb. So you want to make sure that your sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you want to win the point war. You don't want to lose the point war and be like, I've got my secondary. Like,
yeah, no, you obviously want to win the point war, but you also have to be prepared to lose it.
Yes.
And adjust accordingly. And now that you and I actually appreciate that, you know, you gave me Double L's take, because now it's just like I think about the way I have my team set up with, you know, Bardock, 16, and Tien, and it's just like, okay, so Bardock is going to be the character I lose the most, and then I'm stuck with my 16 Tien shell,
yes,
which I believe is the shell that Cho plays with out in Japan.
No, I mean, that's exactly it, because you have to be prepared. Everyone is prepared to win. Anybody can win while they're up, right? Like, it's easy. Like, I got all of my characters, tons of meter. That position is easy to be in. It is much, much harder to come back once you're down, especially losing that point war, which is why you need to kind of make that more doable by having a strong 2-character shell.
Yep.
And I think that's why we're going to see more and more, I think, synergy teams. But I think synergy is being redefined now because of the patch. Synergy before was who lets me double super and has a lockdown assist.
Basically.
Whereas now I think we're going to get a little bit more of how do these characters play together outside of just how their supers interact. It's not just
like,
yeah. Go ahead.
It's like how can I make these characters roll?
Yeah.
Because I feel like with scaling back the offense in terms of, you know, bringing up the defense from the rear, now I feel like a lot of DBFZ is going to be more neutral oriented.
Yes.
And so you want teams that benefit you in the neutral, not just when you're trying to jail people and do, you know, these 30-second block strings. No, you need somebody that's going to help you get in.
I completely agree. But it looks like we are just over the hour-and-a-half mark at this point. So I think this is, I think it's actually a pretty good place to call it. So I think we're going to stop there. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Retro. I have had an absolutely great time. I hope you have as well.
I've had such a good time today, especially dated, but this podcast made up for it in spares and in spades, and I'm actually grateful for, you know, you having me today. So
I mean, absolutely, my man. Super quality. Yinja, I'm sorry to break your heart, my man, but don't worry. There will be more of Under the Radar.
There's next Monday.
There is literally next Monday, my man. I know it's tough.
It's only a week. It's only a week.
Hey, look, I'm here. We're here to make your Mondays that much better. That's what we're here for.
If you have next time you have a case of the Mondays, just tune into Under the Radar.
Exactly. That's, you know what, Yinja, maybe we'll make you a guest sometime.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear your take.
Absolutely. Well, hey, if you really like the content here, be sure to give my man Retro a follow on Twitter, me a follow on Twitter. Follow the stream so you can see when I go live. I also stream other days too. And yeah, I do commentary and stuff if you want to check me out on Twitter.
Yeah, also if you're listening and you're from, we do have a local coming in called Chinatown Beatdown.
Yep, in New York.
I'm part of a team called Kick Punch Block. I'm actually one of the logistics nerds for it. I help run the events and stuff, and more often than not, I'm more on the back end doing stream support and bracket running. But if you guys live in the New York area or find yourselves in the New York area around March 9th, please come down to Xeno Zero Gaming at 62 Orchard Street. It's going to be fun. It's mostly Namco games, SoCal,
Ooh,
DBFZ.
let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, some Street Fighter, some Tekken. And also, feel free to follow me on Twitter, KPB RetroStation, and on Twitch at KPB Retro. And I stream from time to time. I'm still trying to lock down a consistent streaming schedule because my work schedule is actually going to change in the next couple of weeks. So once that change goes through, then I can finally settle on a consistent streaming schedule. And I stream a lot of different games, but lately I've been focusing on Dragon Ball because that's literally the one game that I want to be good at. Like, my goal for 2019 is to make top 8 at a local at the very least.
All right. I was going to say, where you're living, hey, if you can do that, you're living, man.
Exactly.
But yeah, that is going to do it for us. But yeah, be sure to drop. And if you want to see any part of this podcast again, this will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, which is JDiesel. It'll have a absolutely horrifying face that you can't possibly miss. You'll know it's me. But if you drop on by YouTube, you can catch this podcast or our previous podcasts over there. But anyways, that is going to do it for me. I have been JDiesel.
And this is RetroStation.
And this has been Under the Radar. Have a good night,
Love,
guys.
Love, peace, and chicken grease, y'all.